2021年3月，太空船爆炸还算成功，100多台湾人改名字变成鲑鱼。接种疫苗可以拿到免费的甜甜圈，哇哦！这就是阿凯的新闻英文。Hello， 大家好，我是 Kyle。今天要看一下这个月最精彩的新闻，然后看一下里面的英文，学一些生词、一些说法、一些惯用语。所以这个算是进阶的或高阶的英文，所以我接下来会用全英文授课。准备好了吗？ Are you ready? So now let's take a look at some of the most interesting news stories from the past month, March 2021. First up, we have from NBC News, SpaceX Starship rocket prototype nails landing, then blows up. Boom! Oh my gosh. So you might have heard of SpaceX before. SpaceX is a company run by a man called Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a billionaire. He's super, super rich. He's the boss of a company called Tesla that makes electric cars. Well, he's so rich, he also has a spaceship company that makes spaceships. And their newest ship is called the Starship. So they're testing the Starship and they want to send it to space. But it's still not ready yet, so it's called a prototype. So a prototype is a thing that is being developed and they've made one, but it's not ready to go. And so they're still testing it and trying to get it to work well. And what kind of prototype is it? Well, we can add words to the front to describe it. It's a rocket prototype. What kind of rocket prototype? Well, it's the Starship rocket prototype. And who made it? Well, SpaceX. So it's the SpaceX Starship rocket prototype. All four words together, that's the subject. And we use the word nails. Here the verb is it nails landing. Nail means to succeed and do a great job of something. Imagine you're fixing your house and you have a hammer and a nail. And you put the nail on the wall and you go thunk. And with one hit, you hit the nail and it goes in the wall. Wow, that's amazing, right? Well, you succeeded and you did a great job. Thunk. So you nailed it. So the prototype nails the landing, meaning it came down and thunk, it landed and it did a great job. But then what happened? Then blows up. Blows up is another way to say it exploded. Oh my gosh. Let's take a look at what happened with this spaceship. And it lands like that. Oh, but did you see a problem with that? It kind of bounced. Dong. And we think maybe that would be okay, but for a spaceship, that's a big problem. And then uh-oh. So the spaceship sat there for a few minutes and then boom, it exploded. But that's actually okay. So this was actually a success for SpaceX. Why? Well, the ones before, when they were trying to launch, they exploded. Boom! This one landed successfully. It did a good job of the landing. It nailed it. And only several minutes later, then did it explode. So it exploded. That's bad. But it landed first. And that's a big success. That's great. Next up, let's take a look at a piece of news from TaiwanNews.com. And the title of this is Taiwanese changed names to salmon for free sushi. You probably heard about this. People in Taiwan went crazy because a restaurant decided, hey, we'll give you free food if you change your name. Is that a good idea? Sushi means food from Japan. It's rice with fish on top, and usually it's not cooked. Sushi in Japanese is sushi. In English, we just take the word from Japanese and just call it sushi. Next up we have government warns names can be changed only 3 times. So, okay, that should be okay, right? You just change your name to salmon, change back. But what if your parents change your name when you were a baby and you didn't know about it? Well, you might be in trouble. So the government said, miscalculation may lead to unwelcome outcomes. Now, this is a little more tricky. Miscalculation. So the word calculate is a word we use in math. You do math and you figure out a number. That's to calculate something. And so to calculate is a verb, and you call what you do a calculation. If I do 1 + 1 = 2, that is a calculation. But what if I make a mistake? 1 + 1 = 11, right? Well, it's wrong. It's a miscalculation. So miscalculation, meaning doing the math wrong, may lead to unwelcome outcomes. An outcome means a result. And if it's unwelcome, that means you don't want it. So imagine you welcome someone or something that you like, but if you don't like it, it's unwelcome. An unwelcome guest might be someone who comes to your house and you want them to go away. Maybe a vampire comes to your door and says, "Hello, let me in." And you say, "Sorry, vampires are unwelcome in my house." And he goes, "Oh," and leaves you alone. Phew! Several Taiwanese reportedly have changed their names to salmon in order to qualify for free sushi offered by a restaurant. The news is not exactly sure if this is true. It's just a report. So you can use the word reportedly. So several Taiwanese reportedly have changed their names. So we've heard a report, but we're not completely sure it's true. Did you change your name to salmon? You can call me Lukai. Next up is an article from the South China Morning Post about history, which I think is pretty cool and exciting. So, treasures from mysterious civilization could rewrite history of China. Wow. So, a lot of us have studied the history of China, and we know about many of the dynasties. But scientists and archaeologists found some new stuff that might change the history of China. A civilization means a society of people. People living in cities, living together, and in a complex, complicated way, with trade and making stuff and art, all kinds of stuff. So that's civilization. In America, we spell civilization with a Z. This is the British spelling with an S, civilization. But it's a mystery civilization. Ooh, we don't know much about it. The history of China has been written. This dynasty, then that dynasty. And if we have to rewrite it, means we write it again. So means again, and you can put it on the front of many, many verbs. Rewrite, redo, rewatch. It means you do it again. So if we rewrite history, that means we change history. Here's one of the artifacts they found, this golden mask. Pretty cool. And the sophisticated artifacts unearthed in Sichuan point to the existence of an advanced culture that challenges the traditional narrative. So, the sophisticated artifacts. An artifact is any really, really old thing from people a long, long time ago. And these artifacts are sophisticated, meaning they're complicated. And these things were unearthed in Sichuan. Unearthed means that they were buried and you dug them up. You can imagine something is in the earth. So it's earthed. We don't really use that word. And if it's in the earth and then you take it out of the earth, you can say it's unearthed. Okay? So these things were unearthed in Sichuan, and they point to the existence of an advanced culture. So we can use the word point to mean they suggest something. So we found something, and that points to it. It's not actually pointing with a finger or with an arrow, but it makes us think, or it suggests that something existed. And that challenges the traditional narrative. A narrative is a story. So the story is the Shang Dynasty, the Xia Dynasty, the blah, 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 blah. And that's the traditional narrative, the traditional story, what we know already. But this the stuff they found, challenges that narrative, meaning it says that, hey, maybe that's wrong. To challenge something means you say something might be wrong. You push against it. You say, hey, no, we need to fix stuff. In studying the history of China, people think that there's the Chinese heartland, or the Zhongyuan, and this stuff was found in Sichuan, and so that's far away from what people think of, so it's outside the traditional heartland. So this stuff was far away, and it suggests Chinese culture may have its roots in a fusion of different peoples. So it may have its roots. Roots means the origins, where it came from. Fusion means when you take different cultures and different people, different societies, and mix them together. That's called a fusion. Fusion! Ha! Next up, we have a story from Radio Taiwan International. And this is titled, Taiwan Begins COVID-19 Vaccination. Yes, good. Vaccination is getting a shot to protect you from a virus. So a vaccination, that's a noun. And then we have, Taiwan has begun its nationwide rollout of COVID-19 vaccinations. So nationwide means across the nation. So all over a country is nationwide. And it's a nationwide rollout. Rollout means slowly getting things pushed from place to place to place. It doesn't get everywhere at one time. It will roll out. You can think of it rolling and covering the country. Monday's first inoculations took place after Taiwan's Food and Administration finished inspecting the shipment of AstraZeneca vaccine doses last week. Is a word missing? Should be Food and Drug Administration, FDA. Now, we're talking about vaccinations. What's an inoculation? Well, inoculation is another way to say vaccination. Took place is another way to say happened. Inspecting means checking for problems, making sure everything's okay. So the vaccine is what you call getting that shot. It's a vaccine, and when you get the shot, that action is called a vaccination or inoculation. But one shot, when you get it, that's called one dose. So they check the vaccine doses. Doses have now arrived at 57 designated hospitals around the country. So this AstraZeneca vaccine is here in Taiwan, and people are starting to get it, and that's great. We're lucky that we don't have the virus around us in the society, but getting the vaccine will mean that people can start traveling. So that's good news. Next up, we have an article from the New York Times titled, Ship is Freed After a Costly Lesson in the Vulnerabilities of Sea Trade. Now, you probably heard about this big boat, this big ship called the Ever Given. And this ship got stuck in the Suez Canal. The Suez Canal is in Egypt. And the Suez Canal is a waterway that lets boats pass through. What is a canal? A canal is kind of like a river, but it's made by people. And they dig this canal so boats can pass through a place that didn't have water before. So the Suez Canal is a very important place for boats to go, and they can go from Europe to Asia a lot faster. So the big ship was freed. So it was stuck, and then they got it not stuck, so it's free. And we use freed as a verb here. The ship is freed after a costly lesson. A lesson meaning it taught us something. And it's costly because it was very, very expensive. So a costly lesson. People lost a lot of money because of this ship being stuck. A costly lesson in the vulnerabilities of sea trade. So we use vulnerability to mean that something is not perfect. There's one part that could let it get hurt. So if you're fighting a dragon, ching, 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 if there's one spot on the dragon where it doesn't have armor, you could poke that, and that's the dragon's vulnerability. Next, a single stuck ship stymied global trade for nearly a week. That raises fundamental questions about risks in the supply chain industry. Single meaning by itself, just one. A single stuck ship. So all these words are describing the ship. The ship, what was the ship? It was stuck, so a stuck ship. How many? Well, one. So it's a single stuck ship. And what did it do? It stymied global trade. Stymied means stopped or prevented or made it not happen. So we often use the phrase raises questions, means that it makes us ask questions, makes us think about stuff. And what kind of questions? Fundamental questions. Fundamental means the very basic, core, most important questions. So it raises fundamental questions, meaning it makes us think about the very way that sea trade works. Can we have boats going through the Suez Canal, and should we trust that canal all the time? It's a hard question to ask, right? Supply chain means going from making things and then sending it to people who buy it, the consumers. So all of that is called the supply chain. What do we do about the industry? What can we do about shipping? Do we need all this stuff? Should it all be on these big boats? Should we change the way we do it? I don't know, but it's an interesting question. But luckily this ship is free now, so you can get your stuff from the internet that you ordered last month. Finally. Our last article today comes from USA Today, a fun one. It is COVID vaccine motivation. Krispy Kreme giving away free donuts for showing vaccination card through end of 2021. Motivation means something that pushes you to do something. It makes you want to do it. So COVID vaccine motivation. They're giving you a reason to go get the vaccine. Krispy Kreme is a donut company, and they're giving away free donuts. Ooh, that sounds good. Can I get it? Well, not yet if I get a vaccine. If you show your card that says you got a vaccination, meaning your shot, you get a free donut through the end of 2021. From now all the way until the end of this year. So you could get months and months and months of free donuts. That's a pretty good deal. You just need to go get your vaccine. Krispy Kreme is providing a sweet incentive to encourage more people to roll up their sleeves for the COVID-19 vaccine. Free donuts through the end of 2021. An incentive is something they offer to try to get you to do something. So here, they want you to get a vaccine. The incentive is free donuts. So they're encouraging people, meaning trying to make people want to do it, to roll up their sleeves. Just roll up your sleeve and get your shot. Next up, starting Monday, consumers who show a valid COVID-19 vaccination card at locations nationwide will get a free original glazed donut, the Winston-Salem, North Carolina-based chain announced. So, consumers is the subject of this sentence. Which consumers? Well, a consumer is a person who buys things, and we can describe which consumers with a who phrase. This long part is describing consumers. Consumers who show a valid COVID-19 vaccination card at locations nationwide. So that whole phrase is describing which consumers and what will happen. We'll get a free original glazed donut. Glazed means it's a donut that's covered with a kind of sugar syrup. It's called a glaze or glazing. And it's an original glazed donut. So not a chocolate glazed donut, not anything special, but an original, meaning a normal, traditional kind of donut, the like yellow colored donut. So you get a free original glazed donut. And that's pretty good, right? So here's a good way to push people to want to go get their vaccine, get their shot to stop COVID. I know I would go do that to get a donut almost any day, right? You can go again and again all year long. That's a lot of free donuts, but maybe I'll get too fat. It would be worth it. We should go get our vaccine so we can get those free donuts. That's it for today. I hope you get out there and get a vaccination, get some free donuts, and I hope you learned something new today. So thank you for joining me for 阿凯的新闻英文, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.